Okay, so here we are, back together at the end of some very interesting presentation or stories and discussion. I hope you agree. But it's been quite a long afternoon, and we will just end by telling you what was in each room because you missed one room. So I think so. So then I will start with our room, which is room 2. And we're just going to mention each presentation briefly and say a little bit about what kind of discussion we had in case you couldn't be in room 2. And then we'll hear the same from Mariana and Ellie, who were looking after room 1. So then, what was the first presentation in our room? It was Mayamin. And Mayamin,
Yes.
I remember, was talking about mentoring teachers from Iraq in very difficult circumstances, post-war conditions, and I think she was emphasizing the importance of focusing on their well-being as a mentor and spending time asking them about their current feelings, their current well-being. Is that what your impression, Susan, as well?
I got that impression, but I think Miami also prioritizes the way of thinking in exploratory action research. Teachers need to think about their own development as teachers to feel more comfortable. Express themselves against the authorities, because they had to. They have to somehow listen in silence to what the authorities say and try to do their best to follow the directions.
And also making a kind of safe space for the teachers. Yeah. The next one was Dipti Trivedi from India. Dipti was talking about, so she was mentoring teachers in India, but also one teacher in Malaysia, and she was talking about how to keep them engaged. And sometimes mentors, we get a bit depressed because our teachers are not contacting us. We're asking them for a meeting. We have to recognize that teachers are very busy and sometimes they can't meet us. How to keep teachers engaged is a really important issue for mentors, isn't it? So then,
yeah, inspiring them to do maybe teacher research so that they can feel more motivated to continue doing research in their environments.
That's right. And Dipti was talking about sharing stories with the teachers. I think she was talking about sharing stories of other teachers who have done teacher research as a way of engaging, keeping teachers engaged, motivating teachers. So that was interesting. That was important for all of us as mentors.
And I think it was a simpler way, teachers complain about their workload and things, just to gain that kind of a mindset. Reading other teachers' stories would get them to understand the phases they go through.
Okay, Ravi from India. We know Ravi well. He's engaged in some very large-scale mentoring with as his job, part of his job, and so he has teachers from South India for 1 month together with them, and he engages them in a kind of exploratory research, exploring their issues, their problems. But he's together with them. They are not in their classrooms, but they are exploring their issues. And he's always been, I remember talking with Ravi, he's always been concerned that after they go back to their classrooms, they don't implement their action plans, which they have at the end of the 1 month. They have the nice action plans, but he thinks they don't put them into practice. But do you want to go further?
Well, we also talked about this with Ravi in a private session. It's like the question, to continue or not to continue. Is it enough to just explore or not to explore? But obviously, when teachers reflect on their work, they learn more. They have a deeper understanding, and they see the results of their efforts, so feel more motivated. However, it takes patience, I think.
But what I thought was new in his story was he's actually explored that a little bit more, and what happens and why they don't seem to do the action research. And he found they said things like it needs to be made easier, and so he did try something, and as part of his story was making it very, very, very basic, not even calling it action research, but saying, well, try one or two things from your action plan and write about it on a Google Doc. And it seemed to work quite well. So that was a nice story of a bit of success there. So next one was Vanita. Over to you, Suzanne. What do you remember?
What I remember about Juanita's research, I remember her talking about her mentoring skills in an enchanting land of Thailand. And she mentored teachers from Thailand, which is a different culture, and she could communicate with them, persuade them to continue doing teacher research. And she told us about how she motivated them, sustain their research process.
And needing to have a lot of sort of empathy.
And patience.
Yes, patience. Good. Let's move on to Maria Marta from Argentina. Maria Marta took her first steps into mentoring with teachers in her own school. And this was interesting. The teachers were teaching different subjects, lots of different subjects, not just English. And but she talked about how it was good that they were together in the school, but there was this issue of they were teaching different other subjects. But EAR turned out to be quite successful. At least they found it an empowering situation. And Maria Marta herself talked about her journey from feeling a bit worried about everything to feeling proud of what they had achieved. Then we had a good discussion, didn't we, about after these five stories. Do you remember the main topics? I think for me, I remember we were mainly talking about these cross-cultural issues when you don't understand the context and needing to actually understand as a mentor.
How do we overcome those obstacles, disappointments? Is there a difference? Sort of questions came out.
Okay, I think we better move on quickly because
it takes time, Richard.
Okay, let's move on. So it was very interesting. It was a very interesting discussion. First session, then second session, first talk was by you, Susan.
By me.
It was interesting, and we had some interesting similarities in some ways between different talks in the second session. So then it was mentoring PhD students but still they were teachers, or they were going to be teachers. So she wanted to have a practitioner research orientation, but it was this conceptions of what should you do with PhD students, coming almost from your own autobiography, and maybe sometimes in some conflict with this very academic idea, criticality, etc., and down to earth practitioner research. I'll move on. You move on to our presentation.
Okay. So you were with Feyza. We have the same name. I want to say like Feyza. Sorry for this. It's kind of a habit. So it was a nice exploratory action research project in Pakistan to engage and support teacher educators. And following that, I think the group of the part of the group who mentored 10 student teachers. You worked as a group. In different cohorts. Was that so, Richard? What was?
I will. So Afak, Umar, and Zainab, they were three of the teacher educators, three of the teacher trainers that Fawzia and I had engaged in exploratory action research. So as the next stage, they have been mentoring their own student teachers to do exploratory action research. There's this like cascade kind of thing.
Cascading, yeah,
and
exactly.
they were talking about some of the student teachers' anxieties when the research topic, had to change during the research process, and how they tried to support the student teachers. Then we had Suchita from India. Okay, and you remember Suchita's talk, Cesar?
Well, she developed kind of a tool by asking good questions, and they proved to be useful, both her personal and professional development as a mentor, and for her teacher mentees. And she had some very fruitful and effective outcomes in terms of her work.
Very down to earth, talking about what kind of questions should we be asking to teachers? How can we improve the way we ask questions to teachers? And then we came all the way out again, and we had a macro view of setting up a whole project to engage mentors, to have mentors in Bangladesh. This was Tasnima, within a teacher association there, to have a mentoring program, and some difficulties in maybe continuing that, or how. I think basically Tasnima was asking herself, how can we continue this program into the future? So sustainability, really. And this issue of some of the it seemed to be quite successful with primary school teachers, but maybe tertiary level, university level participants don't always see the value of practitioner, kind of down-to-earth practitioner, exploratory action research kind of approach. And that became a theme, a topic of our discussion, basically, this issue of the academic research conceptions as opposed to practitioner research. How far should research go together with teaching? What kind of conceptions of research do we have? So Dan, do you want to end up?
Well, maybe it's going to take long. The point I get,
just 1 minute. 1 minute.
1 minute is we need to simplify the idea of research, like demystifying research in the minds of the teachers. And our mentors are trying to find ways to do that in an easier way for the teachers, which I agree,
but some academics think it's oversimplified or not rigorous enough. So this was our discussion. Let's stop there, because we have to move over to the other side, and we want to hear about room one.
Sure enough, I think people are signing off, so we are going to be really, really brief. Since we were working with 2 subgroups, Mariana, if you would like to just summarize the first 4, and then I will do the second session rather than doing it in a dialogic way.
Yes, thank you very much, Ellie. Yes, of course, I will be very brief. All right, we had Ivy's presentations and about some key ideas. I underlined peer collaboration. Yes, she felt that teachers' enthusiasm tended to decline. So one of the measures she adopted was peer collaboration. So teachers could learn from each other and she could keep them involved. And she spoke about positive peer pressure partnerships. Yes. And then in relation to Ivy's second presentation, well, it was related to teachers and publication. Yes, and the way they felt when Ivy gave them that opportunity. And there was something very interesting, which was an ethical dilemma between in certain cases, mentors, PhDs, and teacher researchers projects. And Susan made a comment in the chat box. She said, maybe we need to do a session on ethical dilemmas in mentoring teacher research. So we all loved that comment, and with Anna, we invited Susan to take part in our next meeting to make her contributions in relation to that topic, and she kindly accepted. Then we had Eric's presentation, which was very interesting as well. He said it was a very difficult journey because it was in a context of top-down pedagogy, but the result was fantastic, and that story changed his mindset. And he said that it was important for mentors to be flexible. Some ideas in the discussion, during the discussion, were interesting, at least for me, were deconstruct to reconstruct. Anna mentioned that, and Ella wrote a comment on experiential learning seems to be the most effective learning method for adults, as it connects experience with knowledge. And then we had Gianu and her cross-cultural mentoring experience. And a very interesting idea that Gianu raised was the following issue. She said, mentors' well-being is as important as mentees' well-being. So she is exploring mentors' well-being right now. So Giano, we are looking forward to your findings in relation to that exploration. Thank you very much, and over to you, Ellie.
Yes, so the second session in room 1 was really, really interesting. I could see like 2 mini groups. The first 2 presentations were related to beginning mentors' experiences. Chang and Simona described the challenges, the self-doubts that they might have had, but also the results that they came out with. So that is like asking the right questions for teacher researchers, not overburdening them with a lot of literature, having a small group of teachers in the case of Simona, but finding at least one teacher who was ready to go the full way, to do the full journey, and learning about emotional intelligence of their students, and also making it into a university assignment. The second 3 presentations were related to multi-layered mentoring. So Vanika and Gianu were part of an experience where they had a super mentor. They were like in the middle of the sandwich, and they had the mentees, and they were talking about how establishing mutual understanding and understanding the main framework of the project was important for them in a way that made them really flexible and approachable. Ella was talking about the responsibilities of mentors, and we were talking about how we often focus on what teachers get out of teacher research, but maybe sideline or forget a little bit about what mentors are getting out. And we agreed that in the local context, like in Uzbekistan, recognition of mentors is something that is really important. Mariana and Ruben shared their collaborative journey, journal writing, and we were talking about the journey and also the issues of what it implies to be sharing I wouldn't say confidential, but still information that is very sensitive and very finely describing the emotional journey and the cognitive journey that they've been making. Interestingly, the discussions, which we didn't record, were just as interesting, if not more, but hopefully we will be able to reconstruct and come back to these issues in our support meetings. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. That was very concise compared to ours. So that's the end of this very interesting day. I hope you agree. I'll just, well, we're going to, we've got the video of the presentations. We probably will try to make some kind of website, web sort of record of this. We usually do that. But also, of course, this is a stepping stone to making a book, as Mariana was saying right at the beginning. And so this is for the presenters. We will be in touch, of course, to take that forward into writing and sharing more stories in writing of mentors. If you'd like to, if you've been inspired to get more involved, more interested in teacher research as a teacher or as a potential mentor, please follow some of the links on the program at the top of the program. And over to Ernesto, just to close it today.
Thank you very much, Richard. Well, I think that we can all agree that this has been a great day, and I would like to emphasize the generosity of all mentors to share their stories of mentoring teacher research. Something that is going to stay with me was, I don't remember who, I think it was Vanita that mentioned the power of listening, of really listening, seeking to understand rather than impose knowledge or ways of knowing and ways of conceptualizing their own classrooms. So thank you all for joining us today. And once again, I invite you to stay connected through our website and social media. A special thanks to all the mentors that presented today and shared their stories with us. And obviously the organizing committee members, Ellie Burkesh, Mariana Serra, Sedentu Jan, and Senin Yang, and Professor Richard Smith for creating this space of dialogue and reflection, and for leading the field in teacher research and mentoring teacher research. Let's continue the conversation, bringing about positive changes in our classroom worldwide, and also making visible our realities, our tensions, and fights. So thank you very much, and bye for now. Thank you.
Thank you.